lonely and spectral and somber and still. And lo, as he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer and then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes till full on his sight a second lamp in the belfry burns. A hurry of hoofs in a village street, a shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath from the pebbles in passing a spark, struck out by a steed flying fearless and fleet. That was all, and yet through the gloom and the light, the fate of a nation was riding that night, and the spark struck out by that steed in his flight kindled the land into flame with its heat. He had left the village and mounted the steep, and beneath him, tranquil and broad and deep, is the mystic meeting the ocean tides. And under the alders that skirt its edge, now soft on the sand, now loud on the ledge, is heard the tramp of his steed as he rides. It was 12 by the village clock when he crossed the bridge into Medford town. He heard the crowing of the cock and the barking of the farmer's dog, and he felt the damp of the river fog that arises after the sun goes down. It was 1 by the village clock when he galloped into Lexington. He saw the gilded weather clock swim in the moonlight as he passed, and the meeting house windows black and bare gaze at him with a spectral glare, as if they already stood aghast at the bloody work they would look upon. It was 2 by the village clock when he came to the bridge in Concord town. He heard the bleating of the flock and the twitter of birds among the trees, and he felt the breath of the morning breeze blowing over the meadow brown. And one was safe and asleep in his bed, who at the bridge would be first to fall, who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball. You know the rest. In the books you have read how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the fields to emerge again under the trees at the turn of the road, and only pausing to fire and load. So through the night rode Paul Revere, and so through the night went his cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance and not of fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door, and a word that shall echo forevermore. For borne on the night wind of the past, through all our history to the last, in the hour of darkness and peril and seed, the people will waken and listen to hear the hurrying hoofbeats of that steed and the midnight message of Paul Revere. Okay, I'm going to point out just a couple literary techniques, but we had a pretty big class discussion about this when you were in class. Midnight message, right there. That is an alliteration. Hurrying hoofbeats, right there. That is an onomatopoeia. You can kind of hear it talking, hear it, as a sound. So that helps with onomatopoeia. The bleating of the flock, that's another case of onomatopoeia. Springs to the saddle, onomatopoeia. Hurry of hoofs. Now that is still considered an alliteration, even though you do have the word of in between the two. That is just something to, it's a close proximity. There's lots of that in here. And then there was the moonlight flowing over all that's some good imagery, which we didn't really talk about imagery a lot, but the wind right here, watchful night wind as it went creeping along from tent to tent, that's personification. You're giving the wind, you're using the wind to describe something else, but it gives it those human-like qualities. And then also right here, that's a simile. So this particular thing is full of lots of the stylistic techniques that we're talking about. So we're going to be looking through these a lot. You're going to be doing some homework this week, actually reading The Ransom of Red Chief, and you're going to be looking for more of these as well. So again, just to recap, we've talked about 3 main things that we see in literature that we want to be looking for, and that's context, that's structure, and that's style. Now, the last video that I'd like you to pause and watch is you're going to find it on Back on Classroom, and you're going to find Teddy's Story Joint. It's pretty, it's Studio C. It's pretty funny, pretty unique, pretty creative way to talk about the story structure, like how authors write structure. So I would like you to pause right now, and then I want you to watch Teddy's Story Joint. And when you're done, come back here. And when you come back, I will be just wrapping up pretty quickly. So go ahead and go watch that. And then I'll see you back here in another couple minutes. All right, so you're back here now, and I'm going to go over the last little bit here. So when you go to do your homework, you're going to open up your homework sheet. For those of you that have been in my class, or you're pretty familiar with this. So this is homework sheet 1. What I want you to do this week is I want you to read John chapter 1. You're going to have a paragraph pretty much each week. Some weeks we won't be writing a paragraph because there will be a lot of other writing that you're doing. So we're going to read through the whole book of John this year. It's about, I think it's 22 chapters, if I'm not mistaken. So each week that you do the paragraph, you'll be writing on the next chapter of John. So I want you to read John chapter 1. There are 2 links here to videos on John. It's the Bible Project, and it's explaining John and kind of the overall theme and content of John 1, or on the book of John, rather. So you're going to read John chapter 1, and you're going to pick one thing out of John that you want to write a paragraph about. Now, I'm not going to give a lot of instruction on this week. I just want you to consider having a topic sentence, some supporting sentences, a clincher sentence, and it should be about 5 to 7 sentences long. And you can watch these videos if they help you, and might help you in writing your paragraph. And on the homework sheet, you're going to write your paragraph right here, directly on the homework sheet. Now, the next thing you need to do this week is you are going to study Vocabulary 1. I put the Quizlet link on Classroom. This year, you'll notice if you were in my class last year, there were only about 15 words a week. Well, now the lists are about 30 words, but that's because we're just having a test every other week. So we will not have a test on September 16th. It will be on the 23rd. So every other week we will have a test, and I plan to do the test on paper this year, so not on Google Forms. The next thing is something new, and it's sign up for Quill. So Quill is an online grammar editing type program. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to quill.com first, or quill.org rather, and you're going to make a student account. After you make the student account, keep that tab open. Go back to Classroom. You'll see on the stream of Classroom, you will see this little announcement. So you go to quill.org first, make your student account, and then you follow this link, quill.org join/inverse. Anyway, that's like the class code. But instead of putting in a class code, I just want you to follow that link, and it should take you directly to your student account, and you'll see my class there. And there will be a diagnostic for you to take, and that's what you need to do this week, is to take that diagnostic. Then the last thing that you're doing for the week is you're going to read The Ransom of Red Chief. You're going to print that story out. You're going to highlight words that you don't know and look them up. And you're also going to mark up any things that you find out of these 4 techniques. And if you see others, you can jot those down as well. But I want you to mostly focus on these. Onomatopoeia, that's the sound word, or where sounds are expressed, like, for example, the fire hissed. He shouted arg. And I want you to write directly on here on the homework sheet what you found, and also mark it on the story, because you're going to bring it to class and we will discuss it. Look for times where you see alliteration, so repeated first letters, similes, that's like or as, and also allusion. So allusion is looking back or mentioning some other historical event or something from the Bible or some major information that most people will know. So look for all 4 of those. And then I want you to look up information about O. Henry. I think you'll find he's quite the character. be ready to share what you find in class. But I would also like you to write those things here. You can do it either in a paragraph form, or if you would rather just make a bullet point list, that works as well. Then the last thing that I want you to do, that's also something that's new on the homework sheets, is I want you to estimate how much time you spend on English. How long did it take for you to complete all of these tasks? And then make an estimate and put your number right here directly on this homework sheet. Hopefully that this has given you a good overview and an introduction to English 2. I look forward to seeing you in class when you can make it, and I will look forward to what you find out this week. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.